Hello, everybody. Welcome again to another edition of the Elite City Podcast. It's a windy night here in Pittsburgh, so if you hear the wind, I apologize in advance. Rick got buried in some snow over the weekend, so how are things up there, sir?
Yeah, not bad. I mean, not as bad as they thought it was going to be. So all good. It was good. It was good. Like snow for snowmen and snowball fights. So it was good snow. So
very nice.
That was fun. The kids
very
had fun.
Was there any sled riding done?
Not yet. Probably the weekend.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, Dynamite was incredible last night. First off, let's start there. We've been on a streak of shows that are, I don't know if they're purposely one-upping each other, but like the past 5 weeks, each show has been better than the next. I don't know.
And what I've noticed about it, I mean, this one has had a particular special main event.
Correct.
But most of them haven't had, huge marquee matchups on them. I mean, next week they have some big matches planned, but like this was like a pretty standard card in terms of the people who were on it. But the shows themselves have been really good.
Yeah, it's a testament to the work being done, like backstage with everybody and in the ring prior to, because, if you notice, people haven't been talking about that it's only a bunch of ex-WWE people. That
right.
kind of went away.
Yeah.
Real quick, because I mean, we talk about it on here all the time. Chris Jericho hit the nail on the head when he said, we became a professional company. We need to start acting like it.
Right.
Everybody stepped up their game, and they are now pretty well-oiled machine. Like anybody could step into any moment, pretty much.
Yeah, they've done a really good job at having a lot of people. You're right, who can kind of if Buddy Matthews was in a title match,
right.
which I wouldn't have expected, but great match. Like they can kind of put people into various roles, and it works. So it's been fun.
Yeah, and go to Buddy Matthews. Like you didn't question that. You weren't like, well, he doesn't deserve that.
Right.
Everybody is. I mean, early on, we compared this to a team. Everybody is a team player, so it seems.
Right.
Obviously, we're not there, but everybody is at least seeing the greater good. Like, obviously, not everybody is going to get along with everybody, and that's just natural.
I'm pretty sure if not everyone gets along, you have to just fold the company. That's what the internet's told me. If there's any arguments, it shows that you have no leadership, and you might as well just shut down the company.
Fold them. Sign a check. It's over. that is very true. Yeah, we do seem to be hitting the company. Not we. I'm not part of this.
Yeah, we have nothing to do with it. But
yeah, we're just.
But if Tony Khan, obviously, who listens to our podcast,
correct, because he makes the changes as we call them.
That's right. If he wants to, hire us, that's fine. Like I'd be willing to work for AEW if there's an offer there.
Yeah, we could take the heat off Aubrey Edwards. She doesn't.
Right.
We could do unrestricted. Sorry, I'm not trying to take your job, Aubrey. I mean, you're already a ref.
So. I'm definitely trying to take their jobs. Yeah, definitely.
You and Renee can fight.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's RJ City and me. We can't have two R cities. That's impossible. That has to be a problem. That's not allowed.
Wow.
So,
full circle.
That's right.
Already.
That's going to be a fight. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm going to CM Punk this locker room. I'm going to come in and disrupt everybody and start fights.
Right. RJ City couldn't nickname his way out of
that's right.
Of a paper bag.
Anyway.
We had a heck of a match to open the show. Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara versus Action Andretti and Ricky Starks. And the first note I wrote down of the entire night, Andretti is very over, and I love this.
Yeah. I also loved when they did the little spin twirl when they pulled off their costumes and Jericho's got stuck on his head.
Yes.
That was great.
100% incredible. And the amount of professionalism that he just stood there with it
Right.
It's the little things. Like, he
and I
didn't
know it
panic.
wasn't on
He just
purpose,
went.
but it actually made it better.
Yeah, totally. And his, like, that little thing, it will rub off on somebody. Like, if that would have been, like, just say that would have been the other way around, it would have been Action Andretti. Like, dude would have probably panicked. Like, oh God, I'm on national TV. Tony Khan's gonna be mad. I messed up the pants thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Jericho, just, you eat it, you take the egg on your face, and then the camera cuts in, you walk away. And it just adds to the moment of, it makes him cooler, I think.
And it works with their gimmick, because their gimmick is silly, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that works. I mean, if it was like, House of Black or something, that's something screwed up, like, it would be harder for them to just kind of go with it, because they're very serious.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, Jericho can look silly, and that's fine. And he knows that.
Yeah, exactly. He knows Chris Jericho. He knows that character. Did you notice that there wasn't as much? Now, there still was Sammy hate, but there wasn't as much Sammy hate.
Yeah, I did. I think, I mean, this was like, he did a really great job. Like, he had a great match.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it's because Ty wasn't there, or because he was so good in the ring. But you're right. They didn't, like, I mean, they still booed him, but it wasn't to the level that it usually, which I mean, I know he's a heel, but, like, the level that it gets to usually is kind of silly.
Yeah, I mean, geez, the guy couldn't even, like, people just said Sammy Guevara.
Right.
They would start chanting "F you, Sammy." Like, it was unbelievable.
And I mean, he's good in the ring. This was a great match. Like, he did some
match.
Like, ridiculous things that were all very good. So I understand he's a heel. So yes, it's good that he gets booed, but they're booing him for, like, they don't like his personal life. It's weird.
Yeah, or like, people, like, they hate him, but they'll watch his vlog. Like, I don't understand that. Like, I mean, more power to them, because that helps him in the long run too. But
right,
I don't know why you'd put yourself through one of those things if you don't like the guy. But again, going back to what you were saying, speaking of amazing moves, when Sammy hit that, like, double jump cutter.
Oh, that was great.
That was super cool.
Like, when Ricky was on the ropes, right? Like, walking the ropes. Yeah, that was really cool.
It was almost the Randy Orton, like, out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, the camera but it was perfectly done. But, like, you saw him in the frame for like a half a second. But it was very well done.
And I think this was, like, around this same Dynamite a year ago was when he had Cody's last match in AEW, and he did the cutter off the ladder.
Oh yeah.
So I guess that's his thing.
His
I like it. I like it.
I love it. I love it.
I realized that because it was the 1 year anniversary, going slightly off topic.
Yeah.
Sammy's already getting booed like crazy. Why didn't he, in character, take credit for running Cody Rhodes out of AEW?
To be honest with you, I think it would have made him a babyface more.
Yeah, you're right. At the time, especially. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, like, Sammy might have been the bigger than Mox at this point.
Yeah, that's true.
Went out there and said
I forgot Cody was not very well liked in AEW.
Poor Code, man. I mean, the dude is only trying to solve world problems in a wrestling ring, okay? I mean,
but he did. He solved so many global issues that have been plagued mankind for generations, and then Cody had a wrestling match and a promo about it, and that was all fine.
Yeah. And I mean, also don't forget that in the middle of one of his promos, we found out that he was having a baby girl too.
And it got pyro.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, if that dude didn't use his executive privileges, as corny as all that was, it still made AEW, like, I mean, we made fun of it, but, like, Cody was a name.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I don't think anyone else could have pulled that off.
Right.
Honestly. Like, not that he was pulling anything off. Like, he was legit all about all that stuff that he was doing. But if it was anybody that didn't have a name to them, you would have turned the channel and probably never would have turned it back on.
Yeah. But I really do love that you're right. He was like all in, like none of this was like him trying to be cheesy. Like he 100% was sold on doing these things. Yeah.
It was wonderful. It was so great.
And then he went to WWE and just did the exact same thing. And for some reason, like it does work there. Like it makes more sense for him to be there. But anyway,
it does. Anyways, yeah. Did you see the heel win coming? Because I did not.
I thought they might do that because they want this to continue, and I mean, if Jericho and Sammy lose all the time, then it doesn't really. There's no reason for them to keep having matches. But I was slightly surprised.
Yeah, I mean, awesome. Like it was really well done. But I was a little surprised. I didn't expect that.
I still like this feud, and I will like it until Revolution. And if it doesn't end there, then I'm going to be very upset.
It is a very fun feud, but yes.
If it ends there, good feud. I'm perfectly happy with it.
Yeah, Jericho needs, and well, in wrestling terms, this is like an average length feud, but for the way Jericho's been going, this is like real short. I mean, it's only going to end up being like 2.5 months.
Right. He really needs, like, Tony Khan needs to sit him down and be like, okay, now you have to do a different feud. He's like, no, we can have 15 more matches. No, you have to stop. You can have 15 matches with somebody else now, not the same person.
And that's the thing, like, he totally could do that. Like, there's enough people on the roster now that if he would just say go after, I don't know who he could elevate. I'm trying to think of somebody. I don't know. I mean,
anyway, yeah,
someone,
sure,
somebody. I can't believe I can't think of anybody. And it's
so do you think this ends with him and Ricky Starks having a big blow off match, or him and Action Andretti having a big blow off match?
I think it's going to be him and Andretti, and it's going to be Starks and Sammy, just because Starks and Sammy are like in real life really good friends, but like indies together, and I think Tony Khan will give them the like national television feud, like just let them go at it. That's my personal opinion, though.
That makes sense. I would like that, and it makes more sense if you're trying to elevate people, because Ricky Starks doesn't really need, like, he not to say he doesn't need to beat Jericho, but he doesn't need to be elevated as much as Andretti needs to be elevated. Like if Andretti beats Sammy, that's big, but it's not huge. Whereas like Ricky Starks doesn't need to beat Chris Jericho to be a main eventer. He already is.
Right. Yeah, and he also, I mean, put it the other way, like Sammy doesn't need to, like, well, not that beating Starks would elevate Sammy on the same level, but like that's what makes it nice. Sammy and Ricky being on the same level, if that makes sense.
I would actually be fine if that feud lasted longer. Like if the Jericho and Andretti one kind of ended, but Starks and Sammy had more of a thing, that I'd be fine with that.
Oh, like let them just, maybe till summer or something. Just let them have
not super long, and not but don't have like Jericho or Andretti like even really be involved in it. They've moved on and like doing something else, and then maybe Sammy and Ricky can have, because they could have a really good feud.
Yeah. Oh, totally. They totally could. It's going to be interesting. The next few weeks are going to say a lot, and it's just going to be interesting. That's all I could say. That we got a little video package next. It was a little bit of a tearjerker. It was the Jay Briscoe tribute. Thought it was insanely well done. Kudos to whoever edited all that and put that together, because that was really awesome.
Yeah, I liked it because it was not just his like in-ring career. It was also about there was his kids in it, there was his family in it. Like it was him as a person, not necessarily him as just a wrestler, which obviously wrestling was a big part of his life.
Right.
But he has his whole it was about his whole life, which I thought was really nice.
Yeah, and it just it's still like it's like a hard pill to swallow. Like obviously I didn't know the guy, but just literally seeing him grow up.
Yeah.
Like I was telling my buddy John today, um, we were talking about it, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I started like as soon as Pittsburgh Comcast cable, as soon as we got Ring of Honor, I started watching it. So like the Briscoes weren't like brand new,
Right.
but they were, I don't know, maybe 5, 6 years in, and like literally seeing them grow up, like just watching Ring of Honor every week, or it was just so fun. And like I know I said it last week, but like this was finally their moment. All the years of staying loyal, and they were getting the like recognition that they deserved, and then something like this happens. It's just
it actually
crazy.
Really, I mean, this is like obviously not the most important part of all of this, but it sucks that it took this for them to be on national TV.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And I understand that there were reasons, and yeah. We're not going to go into them. Everyone knows what they are.
Right.
But it does really suck that like, yeah, this was their big moment on TV, but like it took something horrible happening for it to happen. And
yeah.
Like it would have been obviously better if they got to be on Dynamite or national TV when, Jay Briscoe could have been there to appreciate it.
Yeah. It's
and be rewarded for it. I mean, like Tony,
yes.
From what everything says, Tony Khan wanted him there, and a lot of people in AEW wanted him there. So this is not a knock on AEW, and this is not even a knock on Warner, because again, it's their network. They can put whoever they want. Yeah. Sure, they can put on whoever they want. It's unfortunate, and he was someone who, especially because now they bought Ring of Honor. He was someone who gave a lot to Ring of Honor, was there and didn't really get the big. I mean, he got some of the big rewards. He got the big matches recently. I mean, the last few Ring of Honor pay-per-views were obviously a lot bigger than recent, pre AEW Ring of Honor pay-per-view. So he got that, but he never got, a big TV moment. So his brother did now, but it's just unfortunate that this is what it took.
And it was just so emotional, like just seeing that and watching that. It was really well done though. It just sucks. I mean, he was one of those people, like, apparently that just everybody loved. You know, like just the most down to earth human, and like, when it was time to go into the ring, he put on like the badass face, but he was like just a gentle human being. And I don't know, in the wrestling world, it seems like there's a lot of two-faced snakes, and when somebody is nice, they actually are very well respected. And like people take the time to tell you how nice they were. So
right. Someone even pointed out, the situation that he was in, where he made comments on Twitter and was kind of not allowed on television. He didn't, at least openly, complain about, like, he never complained about that. He kind of took it. He understood, yes, this is my situation, and he knows that what he did and why he was there, and whether or not he agreed with it doesn't really matter. He didn't complain. He could have went on the internet and ranted about it. He could have went on a bunch of, podcasts or whatever and bashed everybody, saying he didn't, was unfair, but he didn't do any of that. He just accepted it and kind of was, trying to be himself and trying to grow, and happy to just be in Ring of Honor. It seemed like he was. It didn't seem like he would have liked the opportunity to be on an AEW, I'm assuming. But he didn't complain. He didn't blame anyone else other than, I mean, I don't even know if he blamed himself. He just accepted it and just kind of went with it.
And like, dude, I was reading today, just going exactly to your point, to tell you the kind of family that they are. They donated to the woman that hit him, to her GoFundMe.
Yeah.
Like, imagine that. I mean, first off, that to think of that in that frame of mind right now. Like, 9 days ago, he was just hanging out at home,
right.
Like, and then to think like, oh, there's another family involved in this too. They're okay.
Right. And you don't know where they where they were in life. Like, obviously, I'm not saying he was, super well off, but he was probably decently well off.
Right. I
and
mean,
so his family probably took it as, oh, we don't know where they are. Maybe she was like their, I don't know anything about her, but maybe she was like their top breadwinner. Maybe she made all the money for the family and now they're stuck without her. Right. So like,
like I said, to just be able to think that way in a situation like this,
especially so recently, like it hasn't been, I can see
like,
feeling that way a year later or something, but it's only been, just over a week.
Yeah. And unbelievable. It's just kudos to the Briscoe family. I was going to say their real last name, but I forgot it. So anyways,
I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Pughh, P-U-G-H.
P-U-G-H, Pew, I think.
I'm not sure how they pronounced it.
I think it's like a church pew.
Oh, okay.
Like, I think, but I could totally be wrong.
But that was a great video. And
great video.
The show was a great show. Like everything they did for him. And I haven't seen, you've seen part of it or all of it, I don't know. The ROH special they put out. I haven't seen it yet, but from what I can tell, that was also really good.
Unbelievable. I sat down and watched it today. I figured, while I'm laid up with the knee, might as well watch it. I'm just going to warn everybody, you 1000% need to watch it, but you will cry. One thought, like, from beginning to end, you will be teary-eyed. Like, you will be. It's a tough watch, but it's good. It's fun. It was really well done because they intertwined, like they did their tribute show that they initially did that was taped, and then they did I think they put in 3 or 4, I think 3 of like Jay Briscoe and Briscoe brothers matches intertwined with the other matches, along with like sit down testimonials that guys and girls were allowed to just basically say like whatever they wanted. And it was really well done, but it's a tough watch because you're gonna cry.
Yeah. I've always said, and this is not a knock, I'm sure it's a great show. I've always said, though, that it's sad that wrestling kind of has a format for what they do when a wrestler dies. Yeah. Like it's sad. only not that they're doing the tributes, because they obviously should, but it's sad that so many of them have died that they, what to expect, and it's just it's overall just sad.
Yeah, that's weird. I never thought of that till this very second. Like, only in pro wrestling is there like a quote unquote standard,
right,
for a tribute show. Like, if it happens like in another sport, like, first off, the sport will probably shut down. At least the team will reschedule games or whatever.
Right.
Like, what I mean? It's just weird. Like, I never thought of it that way.
Wrestling does have, and again, I'm not knocking anybody, but wrestling does have this, show must go on mentality where like every week there's going to be a show no matter what.
Yeah, that's another weird one that I get it.
I get it. And I totally get that a lot of people want to wrestle, right? Like they want to go out and that's what they're used to, and it would be weird for them not to. Like they'd probably be more upset not to wrestle than to wrestle. So that's understandable.
Yeah. Well, going to talk about the show that we're covering here, like, guess what? Some people on the internet were mad that Mark Briscoe was wrestling and he wasn't at home with his family, but the dude has had one job in his life,
right?
And it was in a wrestling ring. Other than his family, the closest people that he knows were there. So he probably wanted to be, like, it was a sense of comfort to be around.
And I mean, wrestling is a job that you do because you love it. I mean, people have office jobs or whatever, and they do them because they have to, and they don't necessarily love the job, most people, right? But no one becomes a wrestler like, oh yeah, I guess I have nothing else to do, I guess I'll be a wrestler. Like, that's like, no, you don't do that. You would go get a different job if you just wanted to have a job. right? Like wrestling is something that you love when you do it. So yeah, you would call in sick from a regular job, but you probably wouldn't have this, not you particular, anyone wouldn't have the same love for their 9-to-5 job than that a wrestler probably has for wrestling, because they obviously made it such a huge part of their lives. Like, to be a professional wrestler at a high level, you have to give a lot. So it's something that you clearly want to do, and it makes sense that you would want to do it even in a bad moment.
Yeah, and it's this, and I mean, even back to Brody Lee's tribute show, like, it shows the the bond and the bond that a wrestling locker room has.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, Mark probably could not wait to get back in there. Like, the camaraderie, just all that, like, that's, to them, that's where you want to be. I don't know. It's a weird thing, one of those that we'll never understand it because we don't think that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
No, I get it. Yeah. I mean, I felt that way. I think I talked to you about like with athletes before, like when athletes have serious injuries, like professional athletes. Yeah. And I'm just like, well, why do they keep doing it? Because they don't need to. But like, no, they're different. Like, that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't necessarily understand that mentality. If I was like, oh, I've had several major injuries, like, I maybe would retire. But professional athletes think differently.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Obviously, was never in the cards for me, so So I'll just whatever. We had the TNT Championship match next, and it would have been hard to follow that little video package they did, but Buddy Matthews and Darby, they knocked the ball out of the park.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I was scanning through Twitter as this match was happening, and some random person on the AEW Twitter said that Darby Allin just defending the TNT title has given it its prestige back. Like, I think that was really the only thing wrong with Wardlow's run. I don't know if they just didn't have anything for him. It was like he won it, and then like we didn't see him for like 3 months.
Yeah, I have heard, and I've heard the sentiment on the internet, and I agree with it. First, yes, Darby Allin definitely, the title for whatever reason means more now that he has it.
Yeah.
Probably because he is defending it. But the sentiment I've heard, which I do agree with, from the people have said, there are some guys in AEW where Tony Khan seems to not want them to lose very often. Someone like Wardlow, for example, like he didn't want Wardlow to lose, but he also didn't want Wardlow to just go out and squash people. So what do you do? I get that. Like, I get that that's an issue. Yeah. And he could lose to Samoa Joe, because Samoa Joe is another big guy who you don't want to lose very often. And I feel like that is kind of a problem with a lot of especially the larger guys, like a Hobbs or a Wardlow, or I don't think Tony Khan wants them to lose very often, because it kind of, I could see how you could think that would ruin their image. But the opposite seems to be not putting them on TV, which also isn't great.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just kind of at odds with that. Like, they're young, and you do want to see them every week, but like you said, if I don't want to see them just because either. Like, I want them to have something viable to do.
Right. Yeah. You get that. I mean, that's the knock people have against, like Hook or Jade, right? Like, that they don't have matches where you think they might lose. Like, very rarely do you think Jade is going to lose a match at this point, right? Like, it seems very unlikely when she's in a match with, Sky Blue or something. That, not a knock on Sky Blue, but she's not going to beat Jade.
Exactly.
So I can see that that's a problem you get into when you have someone who's pretty dominant. You can't just have them have squashes all the time, because that gets old. and then the opposite is have them have tough matches. But does that hurt them if they're, have a match where they struggle, whereas their gimmick is supposed to be destroying everyone?
Just a beast.
Yeah,
it is like the big double-edged sword.
Whereas Darby can do anything. Like Darby's whole thing is he goes and gets beat up a lot. So
I just watched. I'll send you the clip after we're done. Darby was just on Toni Ellis's podcast.
Yeah.
Actually, it was Darby and Jamie Hayter actually, and they were talking about AEW and everything, and Tony Hawk was like asking Darby. He was like, are you are you allowed to do this stuff like skating and stuff? Because like there's some professional athletes like that, obviously Tony Hawk, he was like, yeah, they'll call me up to come like skate at my park, but like we have to turn the cameras off and everything because they can't contractually be seen on a skateboard because they're obviously a professional athlete.
And if they break their leg skateboarding, then that could void their contract or something. Yeah.
Right. Darby was like, oh no, man. Tony Khan, man, he's so cool. He was like, when I jumped my house on my dirt bike, we FaceTimed him because he just wanted to make sure I didn't break my back. And he was like, Sting's at my house, and he's FaceTiming. He's FaceTiming Tony Khan, who was at a playoff game for the Jaguars. So like the guy's probably nervous enough as it is.
Nice.
And he's like, Sting just films. He's like, he films him jump over his house on a dirt bike or something. And Tony was like, all right, did he break his back? He's, oh no, he's walking, he's fine. He's like, okay, and he hung up the phone. I also thought it was really awesome that Sting and Darby hang out.
Yeah, I think that's great that Sting and Darby are like actual friends now.
Yeah, like Sting's 63 years old. He's hanging out with Darby over the weekend while he jumps his dirt bike over his house.
Yeah, Darby's 30. Darby's his age. And I just love that they're friends. Like I love that that's like it's amazing. It's great. It's amazing. Like that they're actually friends. Like it's really cool.
It really is. And the other funny thing in the video is like they talk, like he's talking about Sting and explaining how like young people on the roster like tell Sting like, dude, you don't have to do this stuff, like we'll do it, like like jump off the balcony or whatever, and he's like, no, I got it. And they're like, no, like it's literally, you don't have to, like
that's amazing.
At that point, it's like, not that we don't want you to, you don't have to. Like,
I feel like maybe that's why he likes Darby, because Darby just kind of does whatever he wants to. So maybe that's like Sting likes that and wants to be around it more. I don't know. It's really cool that they're friends.
It is really cool. But before we get into this match, I also learned Darby Allin is like, I learned so much in this. He hangs out with Diamond Dallas Page all the time too. Like we were wondering how his body stays like without getting hurt.
Yeah.
He's like a DDP yoga master.
So, okay.
Yeah, like he says he goes, I forget where he says he lives, where Darby lives, but he says he goes to Atlanta like, I don't know, a couple times a year, and he like does like the retreats that are like a week long.
Yeah.
And he just gets his body back in shape, and like I was blown away. Like I didn't think Darby was lazy or anything. Like it just, I thought Darby was really lucky that he never broke anything.
Right.
That kind of makes a little sense.
Yeah.
That he could put his body through a little more if he's all stretched out.
It still doesn't necessarily help when you throw yourself off a stage, but
correct. Yes. Or like a 30-foot ladder, like your gravity will still win, but
right.
but
yeah, that makes a bit more sense.
Yeah. Anyways, how awesome was it that Buddy Matthews had the Darby paint on?
Yeah, that was cool. That was really cool.
I love the House of Black's psychological games they play.
Yeah.
And when he pulled that hood off and he had the Darby paint on, it was awesome. So fun. Again, how cool was it when the lights went out? Everybody knew that it was going to be Malachi, at least Malachi.
Right. Yeah.
them just showing up in street clothes, though, I thought was super cool.
That was cool, yeah. And when Ortiz came out and attacked it, I had no idea who Ortiz was until they said it was Ortiz. I was like, who's this guy just wearing brown? Like, who is that guy?
For a second, I thought it was a fan.
Yeah, I thought just some guy jumped out of the crowd.
Because if you notice, like, he hit Brody, and like Brody like reacted, but like didn't. So I was like, oh my God, that like wasn't supposed to happen. That, and I was like, oh no, it's Ortiz.
Yeah, and at the same time, Sting was getting involved, so they kind of cut away, and I was like, oh, they're cutting away because that's just some random fan, but no, it was Ortiz.
First off, just imagine another grown man hitting you as hard as he possibly could with one of those canes,
right?
And you just not even remotely selling it. Like Brody just kind of like shook his arm.
Yeah,
I was like, I would have still been crying. Like 24 hours later, I'd still be sitting on at the arena crying. But yeah, Ortiz jumping out was the levels to this feud are amazing.
Yeah, I really wonder where this is going.
I was just going to ask you, does this lead to Santana coming back?
I mean, if he wants to come back, that would be great. Like, that would be a really good ending to it, or a really good step to take. I don't know, because apparently Santana and Ortiz don't get along that well, or weren't getting along that well at some point. So I don't know if they've patched things up or what, but it would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be. Excuse me, stumbling my words here. I was reading that, and that would be really sad if, like, a lifelong friendship ended.
Right.
Over, I don't know what it was, but it was like over stupid wrestling stuff.
Yeah, it's like wrestling booking, like, basically. Like, they're upset about like where they want to be in their careers or something. Like, that's a weird thing to fight over. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get it though. But
I get it. Time,
like, because if you don't want to be the best, then why are you there? Like, seriously.
Right. Yeah, that's true. And especially, I mean, they're not that they're old, but they're also not young, right? So if they want, it's not like, oh, we have 20 years to achieve our goals. Like, no, you probably don't, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, so anyways, it was a fantastic match. Darby retains, and what what did you think of Samoa Joe's?
I love Samoa Joe. His like king of TV, king of wrestling. It's a great gimmick. I love Darby being TNT champion because he's making the title mean something. But I kind of want Samoa Joe to get it back just so he can be the king of television again.
Yes. Two things that I absolutely love only in pro wrestling. Why in God's name was Samoa Joe, who didn't have a match at any point in the night, why was he sweaty? And two, why did he not have a shirt on?
And why was it clearly at Dynamite? Because there was like screens behind him. Like, why was he there like in ring gear? Like, was he just like running around backstage in his ring gear? Yeah. It would be different if like he sent it and clearly he was like in his house. That would make more sense. Right. Yes. But like,
no, it was like only professional wrestling, a guy that had nothing to do would be without a shirt on and sweaty to challenge a guy to a match. Like,
right.
That's all he had to do is say, hey, you don't do anything Friday, let's go. But no, he had to make this big to do about it.
Yeah.
It was great. Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I don't want Darby to lose, but I also love the King of Television.
I think it's great. Yeah, as long as he, as long as he has the ROH TV title, he can still call himself or still act like that. But yeah, I love it. I never thought Samoa Joe had it in him to kind of be like he's a character type wrestler. Like, his whole thing was just being really tough and threatening people, right? But it's odd that like I'm surprised that he could have kind of like a gimmick, like that's a gimmick.
Yeah.
And do a really great job with it. It's fun.
It's also kind of funny. Like, we joked last week that Adam Cole is morphing slowly by the day into Shawn Michaels.
Right.
Literally. How does Samoa Joe look exactly like Triple H somehow? Do you notice that now too? Like, just give him a bigger, like, put a beard on him, and he somehow looks like Triple H. That's not cut. Like, it makes no sense.
That's true. So is that on Rampage then? Like, when are they doing that? Or next week? I don't remember what they said.
I think it's next week. I know I said Rampage just messing around, but I think it's because that would have meant Darby would have had to wrestle twice in one night.
Right.
So
yeah, it makes sense that it's next week.
Yeah, it's probably next week. But then again, I don't know. Maybe Darby would be into that.
Maybe Darby wants to have more. Yeah.
that's Danielson's next.
Speaking of which, I was just thinking. Did Danielson and Darby ever have a match?
Ooh.
I want that now.
Oh, I don't know if they did. I don't think they have.
I want that, and I want like the match to be really long, and then for them to be like, "No, I want another one," and then have another, and just like do like a best of 7 that they've just decided for no reason that they want. Like it has no, like there's no reason for it. They just,
let's go.
They just haven't wrestled enough this month, so like they feel the need to have more.
Yeah,
I would watch that. That would be great.
That would be amazing. Wow, now I want to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate.
I just thought of it when you mentioned that he wants to wrestle all the time. Like, yeah, Danielson and him they'd have great matches.
It would just be like the whole show.
They'd go out of their way to like destroy themselves and each other, but it would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, they could just let that happen. We had Hardy Party and Jungle Hook and Ethan Page. We do not deserve Ethan Page. He is the best heel that isn't MJF right now.
Yeah, him coming out and being like, "Oh, they played the wrong music. They should be playing that." That was great.
Good.
That was great.
And just because he's been the opposite with this angle on Dark and Elevation, where he's been like nice,
right?
And like he was like when they first started to tag, like they would come out to his music, and he was like, no, let's do it. Come on, Hardy, and like they started playing the Hardy music.
Yeah.
So then when it was on the big show, he made him play his, which
That's
was
great.
Such an awesome move. First off, congratulations to Hook. He was the PWI Rookie of the Year, which I did not even know till they mentioned during the match. How is everybody that Hook tags with, like, how is it the greatest tag team of the moment?
Yeah. It's a little odd because you wouldn't think Hook would be like an especially good tag team wrestler, especially, and it's a little odd also because Jungle Boy Jack Perry just got out of like they transitioned him out of being a tag wrestler, so it's a little odd that they're both in a tag team again, but it works
and everybody loves them.
Yeah.
Like cousin for a little longer. That's
true. I'm a little upset that kind of just faded away.
Well, that means it could come back though.
That's true.
This match was solid. It really didn't need to happen per se.
Yeah.
Jack Perry tapped out Ethan Page. It was, I don't know, 5-ish minutes, maybe. It was less than 10.
Yeah.
Good match though. Do you see, like, do you think it's over? Do you see?
I think this particular feud is probably over. I think that they got to keep them. I think they did this to like forward the Matt Hardy Ethan Page storyline.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happens with Jungle Boy and Hook after this. I don't think they continue a feud with them, but I don't know what happens with them next.
This was just me, and I thought of this last night. Can we get Jungle Hook versus Christian and Luchasaurus?
Oh yeah, that would be good.
That would be so good.
I miss Christian. I hope he comes back soon.
I mean, it's been a good minute.
Yeah.
Did he have the same injury as Punk?
I think it was similar. I don't remember what his actual injury was, but
well, Punk's needed surgery though. Christian's did not, correct?
Well, it didn't, but maybe it did now. Like I think he stayed on TV to like finish up the Luchasaurus Jungle Boy feud, but I don't know if then he went and got surgery. I haven't heard anything.
Okay.
Like maybe he figured he could stay on TV for a while and just cut promos until that feud was over, and then
they scheduled the surgery or something.
Yeah, I don't know what happened after that.
Okay, well, I'm looking into that maybe tomorrow or something. Or find out what's up with Christian. Keep everybody posted.
Yes. Yeah, but I think Jungle Hook and their thing with the firm, I feel like it's over. They beat them both. They beat basically all of them at this point. other than the Guns, who are they still in the firm? Perhaps, I'm not sure. But
speaking of the Guns,
yes,
I don't know if they're still in the firm or not. It's a good question. They were though a part of the Billy Gunn family therapy thing.
it was really weird. This was really weird. This was odd.
So odd.
Because this there wasn't even therapy. Like the therapist person was there, just like asked one question and then said nothing. The rest, like there was no reason for her to be there. Like this is
and she kept
like that could have been Renee and just had just been a promo. Like they didn't need it for it to be like a therapist type thing.
Yeah, and she kept making those weird, awkward faces. Of,
like very over the top reactions, which no therapist would ever do.
Yeah, and it also seemed like Matt did not want to have any part of it. Right? Like he looked angry the whole time.
The main thing I noticed: did the tag belts always have the champions' names? Like they always have a nameplate?
Yes, I believe so.
I didn't. This is the only time I noticed that they had nameplates. So maybe it's because they never showed the tag belts that close.
Yes, they did, because when the Bucks won them, that's how they opened BTE one week.
Oh, okay.
It was them the person was screwing their names on the.
I think the tag belts are the worst looking belts in AEW.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like them. They're fine, but I think the other belts are all really good, and I think
that is true.
Like the world title is great. I love the All Atlantic title. It looks great. The trios title reminds me of like a 90s WWF tag belt, so I like that. TBS and TNT, like they're just logos, but I get it, so that's fine.
Yeah.
The current women's title's great. The tag belts, like they're fine.
But good point.
I'm not saying they're bad, but they're not. They are the worst of a great set of belts. Like AEW's belts are all really nice looking, but I don't know. I don't love the belts. They're okay.
Yeah. Well, hey, maybe we'll get some new belts soon.
Yeah.
Because those are the originals, right?
Those are the original tag belts.
Yeah, they've only updated the women's world title. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
And then there have been like variations of like people got like different color leather and stuff.
Yeah, the TNT belt has changed after Brody Lee, and then they changed it a bunch of other times, just like the leather changed and things. Yeah.
Okay. And well, yeah, maybe it is time for new tag belts. But yeah, this segment, I agree. It was
odd.
It was odd. It was dumb.
I don't even remember what it just set up a match between them, right? Like it didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't do anything.
Yeah, it really didn't do anything.
Like this could have easily just been like a backstage promo. They didn't need to do a whole. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why the Guns are necessarily feuding with the Acclaimed again, because they already did that. I don't know. It's weird.
The Guns to me are. It's gonna sound like I'm like throwing them under the bus, and I'm totally not here. It like they're in a weird place, and I think they even understand it. It's like Tony Khan wants to do right by them because of who their dad is.
Yeah.
But they want their spot earned. And I think every spot people assume that they're just given.
Right.
It's given to them. So like they have to like doubly fight to get over. I don't know, because like they're semi over, but like I just don't care about them. Like I like to laugh at them, but I don't care.
They're like them. They're entertaining enough.
Yes,
but there's never been a time where I'm like, oh, where are the Guns? How come they're not on TV? Like I've never, look, this isn't even a shot at them. But if they weren't on for like a month, I don't think I would even notice.
I'm totally. I'm right there with you. Like it's not. They.
And it's not like when they're on TV, I don't like them. Like they're fine.
That's what I was just trying to say. Yes. Yeah. It's. I feel that they're in a bad situation that they're going to get through. I mean, but it's. I don't think the fans give them the respect that they deserve. I mean, I guess they have to
feud with the Acclaimed because their dad is with the Acclaimed.
Yeah.
But I don't know where this is going to go. Like, is Billy? Do you think? I don't think this was ever the plan to have Billy stay with the Acclaimed for this long. I think just the fans really liked it and it got over, so they kept doing it. But I don't know what. what happens here? The Guns aren't going to win the tag belts, I don't think. So
well, see, I think this is going to be my opinion, which I was just going to say. I think they're going to win their dad.
Yeah.
Like, the Acclaim do not need Billy Gunn at all.
No, they don't.
So the Guns really don't either, but it makes more sense to have their dad in their funeral. Like,
yeah.
So, I mean, I think the fans are going to be a little upset though, because I mean, Daddy Ass is over.
Yeah.
So, long run, that's how they get Billy Gunn away from the Acclaimed.
On a strange note, did you notice? Yes. And I don't know, maybe this is just trying to brand him. They only refer to him as Daddy Ass and Billy. And I know when he first came to AEW, there was a problem with him using the Billy Gunn name. Like, WWE didn't like it or threatened him or something. And then somehow it was fine for a while. And then maybe now it's not anymore. Like, that they don't really call him Billy Gunn anymore. And I don't know if that's because they're just trying to brand him as Daddy Ass because it's people like that, or if there's some new thing where he's not allowed to be Billy Gunn again. I don't know.
That is only in the world where Vince McMahon exists would that be a problem.
Right.
In another company.
Yeah.
My God.
This is me thinking, like, I watched it yesterday. I noticed they called him Billy and they called him Daddy Ass, but they didn't really call him Billy Gunn. And I was thinking, oh, is it because they had that DX reunion and AEW didn't send him? Like, are they mad now? And now they're not going to let him use the name. I don't know.
You're probably correct. I mean, if there's a pettiness, that's where it's going to come from.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, weird segment. Move along.
Yeah, weird segment. Moving along. To last week, we joked about the next match. Bryan Danielson versus...
Oh, there was a Hangman Page promo in there, wasn't there?
Yeah. Well, I'm getting there.
Okay.
The next match was Danielson versus Cage.
Yes.
And before the match, we had a backstage with Renee.
Yes.
Wheeler came out to challenge. That was for Friday.
Right.
Where do you think the Hangman stuff's going?
I think that they kind of suddenly just, it's Moxley and Hangman next week. Like, they kind of threw that in. I feel like that's not going to be a definitive finish. Like, it'll be like a double DQ or like a double knockout or something. Yes. And then they'll have to set up a stipulation match. Because it is weird to just be like, it's next week. Like, it's a little, I don't know. I found it strange.
Yeah, I did too. And I agree with you 100%. That's what I was going to say. We're not going to have, it's going to go like a time limit or a double DQ or something. And, we're going to, Tony Khan's, I've had enough of this at Revolution. It's in a steel cage or it's a
Falls Count Anywhere.
Falls Count,
Last Man Standing or something. Yeah.
They'll throw that in there. And
it is weird that both Moxley and Hangman Page have been like, we're not cleared to compete, but we know specifically we will be by this date.
Right.
Like, how do you know that? How do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know that Moxley's not cleared tonight, but in exactly 1 week, he will be cleared? Just the same thing Hangman did, was like, I'm not cleared right now, but by Los Angeles, I will be. Why? Why specifically? Like, your doctor's going to be like, Tuesday, not cleared. Wednesday, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, which is really awkward because that is the only day of the week you work. So
very convenient that he didn't get cleared on a Thursday. He got cleared on for a Wednesday.
Yes. So yeah, we now have that to look forward to, and I don't know. It was just weird that it seemed rushed.
Yeah, definitely.
Segment. Like, just because, like I said, they announced the match and then they had that little thing, and then Wheeler Yuta coming out to challenge. It was a little bit hectic, but
yeah,
we got through it.
Yeah.
But Danielson versus Cage. I don't know what happened, but whoever this person that dresses up like Brian Cage is every week was not the same person that was Brian Cage a year and a half ago.
Brian Cage really, I'm honestly confused not by the fact that he's like a different wrestler, which I'm confused by, but I'm also confused by like he has a great look. Obviously, he looks like he's huge. He's like menacing and huge and super built. Like he looks incredible. He has like a series of really good moves, like his like the suplex he does, where like he stands on the ropes.
Yes.
That's amazing. Like
so cool.
He has a series of like really great wrestling moves. His like personality is fine. Like he doesn't cut promos or anything, but like he has a manager, so that's fine. It's weird that he's not like he hasn't. It's not really all together. Like you would think, based on just how he looks and how he wrestles, he would be like a top star, but he's not. And I don't know what it is. Like it's something still a little missing. And maybe he's getting there. He's getting better.
He's getting there, yeah.
But it does feel like something's a little missing.
I agree with that. He's come a long way, and I'm very happy that AEW went and signed people like Paul White and Mark Henry, because they're showing guys how to use their size.
Yes.
And I don't know if they had anything to do with Brian Cage learning how to use his size, but he has become more menacing. Like not to, I mean, this is going to sound awful when I say this, but like I was never intimidated by Brian Cage. Like,
right
now when he does his flexes and his things before that, you're like, oh, that dude's a badass.
Yeah.
He was just like a dude that was in shape before, and I know that's totally wrong. And I know he's way tougher than me, but I don't know. Now he seems more menacing. He seems like he is an obstacle that needs to be overcome.
Yeah, and part of that is I think it's learning. I mean, he can do more than like an average big guy can do. Like he's pretty agile for his size.
Oh, absolutely.
But I forget which wrestler it was. Someone like Mark Henry or Big Show or something. I forget who it was. One of the two of them said that like, no, you have to learn that like, even though you can do those things, like don't do them all the time. Do them when it's like, it's more impactful. Like spend most of your time being like a big menacing guy. And then when you throw out a, crazy move, it's more impressive. Where if you're doing it all the time, it becomes like you being able to do those things is incredible. So it shouldn't ever become commonplace that you can do that kind of stuff.
See, that makes perfect sense, because like Brian Cage can do like the moonsaults and the stuff like
I think it was Big Show, because I remember Big Show, like when he came to WCW, he could do like a moonsault and a pretty good drop kick, and like he could do a lot of agile stuff. And I think it might have been Hogan actually who told him like, don't do that all the time, which I think half of that was Hogan not wanting to be upstaged by him. But part of it is correct. Like, totally. If you do it all the time, it doesn't look as impressive.
And like, I mean, those old matches, like whenever, he was the Giant in WCW, but Big Show, whatever you want to call him. Like, I remember when he drop kicked Hogan, like that was like an ordeal,
right?
Because he was huge. He doesn't do things like that,
right?
So that makes perfect sense. That's really cool. Anyway, were you surprised? Because I made a note about it here, of how slow and methodical this match was. Like,
not really, because
really,
I thought Danielson might do that. Clearly, I the way I think it happened is he's kind of in charge of the match, right? He's Bryan Danielson. So I feel like he controlled the way it went, and there was a part of me that thought it would go that way, because Danielson likes to kind of confuse you. And if you didn't think that if you didn't think that was going to be the match he was going to have, that's the match he wants to have.
Well, I bought it hook, line, and sinker. I thought they were going to be just like a brawl,
right?
And no, I was very surprised. I liked it though.
Yeah.
Danielson gets the clean win, but I mean, everybody knew that there was going to be post-match shenanigans, as we say. Like, I just knew that was coming. What a great ending.
The one thing I noticed during this beatdown was like Wheeler Yuta was there. They just showed him. Like they literally just showed him like before this match. So like, why didn't he? Like he was there for no reason other than to like challenge Hangman Page. So why did he not do anything? And I know they had. I would have liked if I know him and Bryan Danielson had kind of like a thing where they didn't really get along that well.
Right.
So if that's the reason, that's great. But they kind of should have mentioned that, being like, "Oh, where's Wheeler Yuta?" Like someone should have mentioned that. It was odd that he didn't come out.
Totally. But we did get the savior of the evening.
Yes.
Takeshita is amazing.
He's the greatest. He's like the perfect person.
He's literally the perfect human being.
I love him so much.
He like what just did not expect, and I think that's the whole point of the Wheeler Yuta challenge with Hangman, was to let everybody know that he was there.
Right.
So like, oh wait, where's he at? Oh, Takeshita came out. So then that plants the seed of, okay, like you just said, like, is there some dissension?
Right.
So where do you think Takeshita goes in this? Do you think we see Takeshita Cage?
Yeah, it's possible. I don't know where he goes because I don't want him to face MJF because MJF is gonna win. And I've told you this, but I haven't told anyone else this. My ultimate dream here is Takeshita is always around, and MJF kind of just avoids him always. He runs away from him. He says, "You're not important." And like this lasts forever, and then they kind of forget about it. And you're just like, "Oh, that was just a thing with Takeshita and MJF, and that's moved on now." And then like next year, or at the end of this year, maybe Takeshita wins like the Diamond Battle Royal thing, and finally gets his title match where like MJF's ran away from him for like a year. And then I want Takeshita, and now I want Takeshita to be AEW champion.
Yes. You brought that up to me the other day, and I'm all in on this.
I want them to never wrestle for like a year or 8 months or 9 months. Like I don't want there to be a match where like MJF cheats and wins. I don't want I want them to not wrestle for the longest time, and then when they finally do, Takeshita beats him like pretty easily.
Oh, that would be so incredible. I don't know if I'd be able to take Takeshita losing though.
Yeah, I know. That's why I never want them to have a match. I don't want them to have a match where like MJF hits him. Well, MJF hits him with the ring and beats him. Like, no, I don't want that. I don't want them to ever have a match until it's like he's ready to be AEW champion, and then he takes it.
I'm all in, dude. That rules. That's so fun.
Yeah.
So the next match, well, Toni Storm versus Ruby Soho, and I made a little note which probably doesn't. It's probably irrelevant here in a minute, but do we think Britt is injured? Like, why do you think she was taken out of this?
Yeah, it's weird because they did say, I mean, I think Meltzer said today that like, oh, whatever injury it was isn't serious. She'll be back. So then I'm like, was she even actually injured, or was that just there?
Yeah, were they playing into something to, I don't want to say just to give her the night off, because I mean that doesn't make sense either.
Yeah, they could have just not booked her if they wanted to give her the night off. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, were they just being extra cautious? Is this setting up something more?
I have to say this angle and this, I mean, in general, the women's division is probably, I'd say not even probably, is, for me at least, the most intriguing part of AEW right now. Like where they're going with this women's storyline of the Toni Storm and Saraya against basically everyone else. Like I don't know where they're going with it. I think it's great. I love it. It's probably the best story they're doing right now. I love it because I don't know where it's going and I don't know what's going to happen. And all the matches are good. All the people involved are good. I love it.
Yeah. I made the note too of, I love that the announcers kept playing into Toni Storm and Saraya using the homegrown terminology. Like they were making,
and mention that Toni Storm knows Ruby Soho, like hinting that maybe
yes, like it was, all in all, there was the most moving parts in this match. Like, as far as like storyline went, like there was a lot going on here. I'm sorry, but heel Toni Storm rules.
Oh yeah, I didn't think she could be a heel, but like in 2 weeks she should. She's a really good heel. I love it.
She's real good at it. Oh, it's so good.
I thought like she was too like friendly to be a heel, but no, she's definitely good at it.
Yeah, I just didn't. I'm with you. Like, I didn't think I'd be able to buy it. Like,
yeah.
And no, I'm all in on it. She's awesome.
I know it's worked. Like I know it's wrestling, and I even know how it's worked. But that hip attack, how is she not just destroying people?
It makes zero sense to me.
Like I know it's worked, and I know she's hitting the turnbuckles first. Like I understand how they work it, but like it just looks so brutal every single time.
It makes zero sense to me. Like I almost want to see it filmed with like one of those scientific high speed cameras,
right?
Film like 800 frames per second just to see.
Like how is she avoiding just like crushing someone's face? Yeah.
Yeah. But
she does it every match, and it looks brutal every match. And as far as I can tell, like no one's really got hurt by it.
No,
but, like,
no, that's repetition, man.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but I'm with you though. It is probably the most brutal looking finisher in pro wrestling.
Like when she hit it on Dynamite with Ruby, I audibly went, ooh.
Like yeah, Ruby sold it so
Ruby
well.
sold it well.
Yeah. So fun. About halfway through the match or so, Britt's music hits, and it was just stand at the top of the ramp, distract her long enough so Ruby can get the pin. And then she just walked away. I mean, obviously that's setting something up, but were you expecting a promo from Britt? Because I was expecting.
Yeah, I thought maybe. I think what I thought she was doing is she's trying to put some dissent. Like she likes the dissension between Ruby Soho and Toni Storm, and she was trying to play that up because everyone's first thought, my first thought at least, was that Ruby's gonna, when it was a triple threat, my first thought was Ruby's gonna turn and join Toni and Saraya. So I feel like this was just Britt's way of like laughing at their, like the fact that they don't get along. I still think Ruby may turn.
Okay.
And it's gonna, like, it won't happen right away, but like, you know, I could see Britt trying to win her over, and then Toni and Saraya being like, but you know Britt, right? You know, you can't trust her. You could trust us. We've go way back. We've known you for years, and trying to like win her over. But I don't actually know where this is going, and I think it's great.
Same here. The rumors are starting to pick up some steam now. Are we gonna get a women's blood and guts?
I would love that. That would be great.
Dude, it's gonna be amazing. I hope it happens.
Yeah, definitely. But I hope it's the only one. I hope they don't have two in one night.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Like I hope they don't have a men's blood and guts and a women's blood. That's too much to have in one. If they did them like they spaced them out, like maybe the men's blood and guts match is like a couple months later, fine. But I hope they don't do like two on the same show, because that's a little much.
Yeah, that would be. Oh man, that's gonna be good.
But it'll be good. I hope they do it.
Yeah, same here. MJF, he had to give his little 2 cents, and he had a little backstage promo to announce Danielson versus Timothy Thatcher.
Yes, and the way he started the promo.
Yeah,
little much.
Yeah, little much.
Not really necessary. And not like in connection to anything else he was talking about. Like he just threw that out there. Like there was no need for it.
That's very true too. Have you looked into Timothy Thatcher at all?
I just know of him.
Well, like I did not know anything about him until this morning. And apparently, he worked at NXT. He worked for WWE, and apparently, he was known by the higher ups as the ratings killer. Because every one of his segments, they said, underperformed. So you know damn well that's why they're giving him a match with Danielson, right?
Right.
Like it kind of sucks that these guys being used as a pawn, but I mean they obviously have faith in him too. But
right.
I don't know. Like, I really hope it's a banger for his sake.
Yeah.
But this one is a little too unknown for me. Like, I mean, if you watch NXT, you know who he was. I did not watch NXT, so.
Yeah, I don't mind it. The only thing that I think was weird about this angle is this isn't MJF picking people to face Bryan Danielson, like with Jericho when he was like, I'm going to choose your opponents and I can pick anyone, and like that made sense. But this is like, apparently this is supposed to be so Danielson can become number one contender. And they even mentioned on the when during the Brian Cage match that like, oh, if Brian Cage wins, he could say he's number one contender. So like this is supposed to be the top ranked guy, like MJF making him face like the other top ranked guys before he gets. So what's Timothy Thatcher doing? He's never even been in it. Like, why is he there? Like, not that he's not a good wrestler or anything, but like, what? He's never been in AEW. Why is he? Like, what if he beats Danielson? Does he get a title shot all of a sudden? Like,
yeah,
it's weird.
It is very weird.
I mean, the match will be good. It's Brian, like we've said a million times. Either of us could have a match with Bryan Danielson, and it would be fine, right? So, like, an actual wrestler can clearly have a like. I don't think you could have a bad match with him. But it's a little odd.
Yeah, it's going to be probably fun. It's probably going to be great. But like I said, I just don't know enough about him. But like I did know that he was known from the other companies, the ratings killer. So I hope
this is the second last one, right? Because they said February 8th. So next week will be the second last one. I wonder if the last one is it a big deal, or are they going to be like, oh, the last one is Wheeler Yuta? Like, maybe they'll make him face his own team. I don't know.
That would be interesting. I said from the beginning, I think the last one's going to be Nick Aldis, but I don't know, because they never had their match. They were supposed to have the match at Forbidden Door, and they didn't.
Wasn't he supposed to have the match with what's his name? It's Forbidden Door. Not Osprey. What's his name?
I don't know.
Why do I not know this?
I thought he was supposed to wrestle.
No, he was supposed to wrestle. What's his name? Zack Sabre Jr., wasn't he?
Oh, it could have been Zack Sabre Jr. Maybe that's.
I think it was supposed to be Zack Sabre Jr.
Okay, that's who I'm thinking of then.
Because then he faced. Then he faced Claudio, right? Yeah, Zack Sabre Jr. That's who it was.
So that's this whole time I've been saying Nick Aldis. That's how I met. I met Zack Sabre Jr. I'm totally dead serious. He's the English guy that wears a leather jacket, and that's totally not Nick Aldis at all. I mean, he's an English guy, but yeah, wow. I'm an idiot. Hey, I'll admit that. Wow, that made my day. That was awesome.
Yeah, that would make sense. That would make sense.
Wow, I wish we would have never figured this out. And then when they announced Zack Sabre Jr., I could have told you, like, dude, when I've been telling you Nick Aldis, no, that's who I meant. Wow.
Or is it just going to be someone? Like, is it just going to be someone on the AEW roster? Like, they're going to pick, like, I don't know, Ethan Page or something just to have him. I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
I think it might be Wheeler Yuta, and like he might make him face someone else in his own group.
I mean, that would be fun.
Yeah.
It would make a lot of sense. Who was the last one Jericho had to fight? Was it like?
Was it Juventud?
Was it Juventud?
And then I think it was Wardlow.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Because I know he had to do Juventud, and then he did, what's his name, Nick Gage. Or Nick Gage, then Juventud, then, I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was Sean Spears, Dax Harwood, Cash Wheeler. It was all the Pinnacle. Then Wardlow, then Max. Oh, no, that wasn't it. No, I was reading that's what they originally said it was supposed to be. But then they made it other people.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Moving right along we had a very special main event. The main event, it was requested by Jay Lethal and Mark Briscoe. They wanted to have a match in memory of Jay Briscoe to honor his life, and they went all out. They had Ian Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman on commentary. Bobby Cruz is the ring announcer. and just the whole atmosphere obviously kind of changed a little bit, but like it, it was heavy, but it was also like semi-therapeutic to.
First of all, speaking of the ring team, kudos to them for having a match, calling a match that was in the honor of Jay Briscoe, featuring Mark Briscoe and Jay Lethal, and not screwing that up very 100%, often. Like, yes. That was, I think a couple times they did say Mark Briscoe and Jay Briscoe, which is totally understandable.
Right.
But yeah, kudos to them for having a Jay and a Briscoe and a J, and but yeah, not mixing that up more than they did. So yeah. I was like, I obviously didn't watch ROH. I didn't watch too much of Jay Briscoe's matches. During this whole match, I was like happy. I was smiling through it. Like, that this is what they really wanted.
Yes.
And and they told a great story. And like, totally. I was like the last half of the match, like I was just like smiling when it was on, being like, yeah, this is what they wanted, and they were getting it. And it was great.
It was, like Mark was on fire from the get-go.
Him like frequently trying to do Jay's finisher. Yeah. And not getting it. And then you knew he was going to get it eventually.
Oh yeah.
And it was going to be great. But the whole, like, he teased it, I don't know, 4 or 5 times. And every time you're like, is that it? No, that's not it. Like, it really got, like, it was such a well, like, booked match too, especially because it was not a storyline. Obviously it was a, kind of a memorial match. But they put a story into it that was really good.
Yeah. And Lethal getting tore up before they locked up, like Tim holding back the tears. That was tough.
I think the segment they did with the chops in the corner where they traded chops, I think that was to kind of get him into it. Like I felt like he was obviously like very emotional, and like it's hard to have a wrestling match when you're that emotional about something. So I feel like the chops was kind of like, okay, now we're kind of smart you up. Okay, now you're in the match. Now I have to do a match. Okay.
That's a good point. Like, that's actually very good call. Like,
because he was really like, he was tearing up. He was obviously upset.
Like, quote unquote, whip him into shape and just like, hey, come on.
And Mark wanted to have an insane match, and it was.
I was just gonna say, and oh my goodness, was it? It was a fantastic match. The way they ended the show. First off, the first thing that I noticed was it really made you think, like, or made me realize how insanely WWE's roster is.
Right.
Because like when everybody came out, and it like there was like 50 people.
Yeah, I mean, like, half of them, like, obviously some people weren't there.
Right.
But yeah.
But it just like really made it's like, wow, when WWE there's just like 3,000 people on stage.
Right. Yeah.
But that going up that ramp had to be so hard for Mark Briscoe.
Yeah.
Like, first off, there is a 35-foot tall digital board of a picture of your brother.
Right.
And then all your friends crying at the top of the ramp. Like, right. Oh, that had to be.
But he did it, and like in character, not in character, but like he went up and hugged everybody, obviously. But then he went and he held the titles up. Like the fact, like, I love that he had both tag titles too. Like that was so great.
Yes, that was so cool that he had his brother's title with him. Like,
it was the match was like, it was perfect. It was what they needed to do.
Yeah.
Like for themselves, not for me. I don't know them. But you could tell this is what they wanted. Tell that Mark especially really wanted to go out and have just an incredible match, and wanted to have a moment to talk to his brother at the end, where he said something. He spoke to the kids, and he spoke to the family. You could tell that he got everything he wanted, I think, out of this match. And from what we can tell now, he's allowed on AEW, which is unfortunate that this is how it's happened.
Yeah.
But if I feel like I'm not him, but if this was it, like if he never got to be on TV again, I think this is what he wanted. This is how he wanted it to go.
Yeah, that's a good point. He said what he had to say, and yeah,
he had a great match. He respected his brother. He had a lot of callbacks to his brother, and it was great.
It really was. Personally,
it reminded me a little bit, and I know it's awkward to talk about now, but when Bret Hart was in WCW and they went and he had a match with Chris Benoit, kind of in memory of Owen.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was obviously Bret was going through a really hard time, and they had just an incredible match in memory of Owen. And you could tell that he felt better for it. Like they're wrestlers, right? Whatever they feel is a little different than what everybody else feels.
Right.
And you could tell that like him having that match for Owen really kind of helped him. And I think Mark Briscoe having this match for his brother, like this helped him. Like definitely. obviously the situation is awful. It's not going to fix it, but I think it helped him, emotionally deal with it or feel a little bit better, not better, but like, I don't know, feel something.
A little normalcy.
Yeah.
Like when that 20 minutes that he was in the ring, like, I mean, I'm sure as much as he was thinking about his brother, he was also just in that moment, and
I was super impressed that they like had a story to the match. Like I didn't even like that they were in the state of mind to like put a really good story. And like I fully expected them to like just go out and have, a match and try to have it be the best match possible. But like it had a story to it. Like it was really good.
It really was. Personally, I don't think Mark Briscoe is done.
No, I think he said today that he's not done. I think he said that he's.
Oh, okay. He made that official.
He had a comment, like I think he put it on Twitter or on a podcast or something, that he said that like, no, now he's doing it for his brother.
That's amazing. I really, really, really hope he gets with FTR and they make a run at the trios.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all you need for the story. Like, oh, please let that happen.
Yeah.
So all in all, it was a great show. It was an emotional show. It was a roller coaster of a show. But they got to do what they wanted to do, which, in the end, as you said earlier, it sucks that it had to be this for him to be able to do this.
Right.
But also much credit to the fans for speaking up and saying, hey, this should happen. And if people send emails and call, I don't know who got the mind changed, but
I really wonder what happened backstage. If it was like Tony Khan or AEW really pushed for it, or if Warner Brothers just Warner Discovery saw the response that people had, and it was like, oh, we made a mistake. We need to fix it.
Yeah. So yeah, whoever changed that, much credit to you. You're a human being, and that doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a good show. We have some kind of know somewhat of what's happening tomorrow, but not everything's listed yet.
And next week's Dynamite seems like it's going to be crazy.
Look, unbelievable. Dynamite looks nuts. We got a date for Pittsburgh in April 19th for Dynamite.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. I almost had a meltdown last night during the show, and that flipped. I was like, oh my god, I'm not allowed to drive for 12 weeks. And I was like, that falls in the 12-week period. If I'm not allowed in the car and I have to miss this, I really won't complain because I'll sit at home and watch it on my couch.
But
still, I will be so upset because more than likely something awesome will happen, and I'll be like, "Yep, stupid knee."
Is it in the same building it was last time, or?
Yeah, so that actually kind of makes me happy too because I was, oh, thank God. It's like I'll be totally okay if I miss this show.
They're not doing it at like the PPG paints where you'd have to miss that. Yeah.
Right. Though I've already sent a text to my niece and I was like, hey, I might be parking at your place and Uber to Oakland. Because she lives on the south side. You were in Pittsburgh. You went to the south side, correct? Okay.
Yeah.
So my niece lives very close and they have parking. So
nice.
Yeah, I might do that if I'm allowed to drive.
And I've heard they moved the Winnipeg show. It's back to Wednesday now. Remember there was going to be a Tuesday show?
Oh yeah.
They moved it was like due to the NHL, I think, but I think then something's changed and they moved it back. So it's a regular Wednesday again.
Interesting.
So yeah, good stuff's coming up.
Yeah. Well, we've been doing this weekly segment now of giving each other homework assignments.
Yes.
And I messaged you yesterday or day before yesterday, and I threw an assignment out there for us. I'm a weekly watcher of Dark and Elevation, and I noticed that they now storylines and stuff, and I proposed the question to you: if you were able to not necessarily revamp the shows, but if you were able to book the shows and do your own thing, what would you do to improve them or whatever you want to do to them? They're yours to do. So
right. All right. So I have a few points. First of all, I would somehow, I can't even think of how necessarily, but I would differentiate more between the two shows. Because what's the difference between Dark and Elevation other than where they're taped and when they're taped? Like, I don't know what the difference is.
There really isn't.
Yeah.
And they're both under the, like, they're it's really called Dark Elevation.
Right.
And then there's just Dark.
Right. So I'd get rid of that. I would just make it Elevation.
Yes.
And just Dark and Elevation. It's not to be called Dark Elevation. I would differentiate between the two of them. I would have Dark be Dark. Like, it would be the matches that happen before or after Dynamite and Rampage. Like, it would be the dark matches, which I think is what it was originally supposed to be. And then I would have Elevation be, guys who aren't going to be on TV. New talent or young talent or people who aren't signed. That would be Elevation. That'd be them elevating, basically. And my plan would be to have them kind of be the shows for the hardcore fans. So,
right.
I mean, obviously they are now. They're a niche audience now. I mean,
right.
The million people that watch Dynamite aren't watching Dark. But I would kind of have, like how BTE, they don't necessarily have their own storylines, but storylines kind of develop there or move forward there. Like you'll hear them talk to, Hangman about something that happened on Dynamite. And you don't need to know that. Like, you don't have to watch BTE to follow the storyline. Like, you can watch Dynamite next week and still know what's going on. You don't need to watch it. But if you're someone who wants to know all these little details, if you're like someone who wants to know, how did Hangman feel when someone else cut that promo?
Right.
Like, then you'd watch BTE to get that extra information. I would try to do that on Dark and Elevation. Have them kind of be like the bonus episodes. Like, if you really want to know, how someone feels, or small story beats, like maybe Hangman cuts a promo or Hangman has a match on Dynamite, and then on Elevation he'll cut a promo or he'll have an interaction with someone that you don't necessarily need to see it. Like, you could still follow Dynamite and not be lost. But if you watch Dark, you'll be like, oh yeah, I knew. I thought that might happen because I saw him cut that promo, or I saw him, he was backstage watching that match with whoever. Like, throwing a little extra stuff in there.
I like it.
Another thing that I would do is I'd have something exclusive to the shows, not necessarily a title, but something that's exclusive to them, like a type of match, or even for a while a wrestler. Like, maybe you only see Danhausen wrestle on Dark or Elevation, and I wouldn't take that as a demotion for him. Like, he'd still be on Dynamite, but if you want to see him wrestle, you have to watch Elevation. You have to watch Dark. So that would kind of make it a bit more interesting, like something you'd have to watch. And on that note, I would also book stuff. I know it's harder because they tape in advance. Like they tape a lot of episodes in advance. Like they're not taping every week necessarily, but I would have them book at least maybe the main event of shows in advance. And then they could promote it on Dynamite, being like, oh, if you want to watch John Moxley face, Sammy Guevara, it's going to be on Dark this week. And the rest of the card, they might not know, but on Dynamite, you can, like how they plug, oh, this is coming up on Rampage, plug what's coming up on Dark, even if it's not a huge match, even if it's, 2 mid-card guys or 2 low-card guys, like plug that on Dynamite in advance so that to watch that show. And then my other thing, I have several points.
Good.
I would say do something to make the matches mean more as opposed to just being dark. This is primarily for Elevation. Which would be like the young guys show or the guys who aren't on TV regularly show. Maybe not rankings, because the rankings didn't really work when they had them on AEW, but maybe like the records, they keep everyone's record. My thought was at the end of each month, the man or the woman with the best win-loss record on Elevation would get a TNT or TBS title match on Dynamite or Rampage. They might not win, obviously, but once in a while they might win. But say someone like Action Andretti, right? Like he's been on Elevation for a month and he's gone undefeated. So now he gets a title match when Dynamite rolls around, like the first of the month or something, he would get a title match. So that you would watch it, so that you could see, who's going to be the next TNT tournament, TNT challenger, who's going to be the next TBS challenger. I want to see because I heard this person has. They've been undefeated for 2 months on Elevation. So I have to see what they're going to do because I know they're going to be on Dynamite soon. So I want to see them in advance. And then my last thing was just talk about them more, on Rampage or Dynamite, like talk really about what happened on the show. They have like a ticker that runs at the bottom on Dynamite, but like I've never paid attention to that really. So talk about them more. Be like, oh yeah, Britt Baker's in a match now, but her match last week on Dark, and like show a clip of that match so that you can be, oh yeah, Britt Baker did have a really good match on Dark last week. Maybe I should watch Dark because they have those matches. Whereas right now they kind of exist in their, like they matter sort of. Like they'll say once in a while, they'll say, oh, this person beat this person on Dark, but like they don't really matter because they don't like if something happens on Rampage, they'll talk about it on Dynamite.
Right.
But if something happens on Dark, it's kind of just like the Ethan Page, Matt Hardy stuff. They've never mentioned it on Dynamite or Rampage, really, other than that it exists. So like show a clip, like it's so a 2-minute clip of like what happened on Dark this week, just to get people to pay. Oh, I heard there was a great match on Dark, or there was a great match on Dynamite. They showed a clip of it on Dynamite, so I'm gonna watch Elevation next week. Just little stuff. They're the YouTube shows. They're not their top programs, but I would like to see them not be developmental, but be like where you can see stuff that you couldn't necessarily see on Dynamite and Rampage.
I 100% agree with you. That's they definitely need something to that point. It's the effort is there from the talent. But the effort isn't there from the company.
Because my thought was it should be, people knock, Sammy, not Sammy, like say someone like Eddie Kingston hasn't been on Dynamite in weeks. He's only been on Dark. Like he's been,
like it's a bad thing.
He's been like demoted, right? Yeah. But I think when people picture, a lot of the time it's WWE, people who watch WWE a lot, which again, understandable. WWE has been the one company for 20 years.
Right.
So you're used to the way they do things. I don't think Dark and Elevation are like their, main event or whatever airs on like Saturday mornings or I don't even know when. I don't think that's where it is. I picture them more as like Sunday Night Heat, whereas like they're not the top show, obviously, or like WCW Saturday Night. Like it's not Nitro, it's not Thunder, but like it's also it's an important show. It matters, It's not a B show. It's not like where you go if you don't get on TV, you can't get on TV.
Right.
It's just another show that they have.
Yeah. I totally
They have to position it more like that, where like, oh yeah, Sammy Guevara hasn't been on Dynamite in weeks, but he's been on Dark every week, and that's not a bad thing. That's like where he just happens to be wrestling right now.
Yeah, I'm 100%.
Because like even the Rampage I went to, they taped Dark before it, and like guys like Eddie Kingston, Dark Order, and people who like the crowd wanted to see were on Dark,
right?
But like their matches weren't matches. I mean, they were matches against people you even didn't know, or like local talent, or like
right. That's
They weren't like there was no. You weren't really invested in it because you're like, oh yeah, Eddie Kingston's going to come out in 2 minutes. He's going to beat this guy, and the match is going to be over, right? So like have it be a little bit more meaningful. Like you could have local talent on the show, but make it a bit more meaningful where there's stakes. Like, oh, if this guy wins, he's now on a winning streak and he's going to get somewhere. Like have it just mean something.
Yeah, totally. And going back to what you said, you can do, the AEW guy or girl isn't going to win every week.
Right.
You could throw in the indie local talent that nobody has ever heard of and have them wrestle on a Dynamite because they upset, like.
Right. Yeah. Do that. Like that would be great if they have, a local talent beats, I don't know.
Yeah. Like Will Yuta, I don't know. Just
right.
Whoever.
Right.
Yeah.
And now they're on Dynamite because like, oh yeah, they like, that's why I would kind of position Elevation as like the place where you see the people who are going to be on Dynamite. Like they're like not a tryout, but like they're going to be on Dynamite soon. Like they will be on Dynamite, whereas Dark is like dark matches. So like, yeah, if, Samoa Joe or someone loses to a local talent, then they get to be on Dynamite next week. And maybe they won't win, but that's their reward for beating someone on Elevation. And that's why someone like Samoa Joe or whatever would be on Elevation, because they want to face, up and coming new talent. They want new talent, like position it that way. Like, oh, you're not on Elevation because you're not good enough to be on Dynamite. You're in Elevation because you want to face new talent. You want to face up and coming people. You want to something like that.
Yeah. Like, oh, I beat everybody here. Like I have to go there.
Right.
I can face somebody new every week.
Right.
They don't even have a roster almost. Like, yeah, that's awesome. Dude, that rules.
Yeah. That's just my thinking. Like they're obviously not going to be Dynamite and Rampages because they're not on TV, but they could be like, I don't watch Dark and Elevation very often. I'll watch them sometimes, but I don't watch them on like a regular basis.
See, I'm that nerd. I watch them every week.
So if they made them a little bit more meaningful, I feel like I would.
See, I mean, I do watch them every week, but I'm totally with you. Like there are some, like, I can't remember when it was. It was literally like, it was right around Christmas-ish. So it was either before or after Christmas, that there was just an episode that was so bad that it was on. And again, not taken from the talent. They're putting their bodies on the line, but it was, I could have cared less. I mean, I kept it on,
right?
But like I was on my phone.
Yeah, sometimes I'll put it on as like background stuff while I'm like cleaning up or whatever. Like it's just on, and like I don't put as much attention to it as I do to like Dynamite, obviously.
Yeah, but this new thing that they're doing with the storyline, though, I do dig. So
yeah. So what are your ideas?
Well, first and foremost, we're going to say everything you said was awesome. Like if they took a third of what you said, that would be a huge improvement.
Yeah, I really liked the idea of, I know I'm promoting my own idea, but I really liked the idea of like whoever wins the most matches in a month gets a title shot, because that makes it.
That's super cool. Yeah,
I feel like that's more that's an instant way to make it meaningful. Like, oh, and then you could have two guys who are both 3-0 and they face each other in the last week of the month, and like whoever wins that is gonna. So you would watch.
So to make the stipulation of like, one of these guys is going to be, one's got to win one. Oh, that's awesome.
And if he wins, he gets to face Darby Allin next week, so people will watch it. Oh, I want to know who's going to face Darby Allin next week, so you watch it.
Man, dude, that rules. I would do mine a little different.
All right.
Just for, well, just to change it up too. But I everything you said was 100% awesome.
Thanks.
Personally, with me watching, like I said, I will get lost. Like there are just sometimes like, and like you just said about the local talent thing, no disrespect to them. That's awesome for them that they're getting to do this.
Right.
But if, you know, if I see if somebody doesn't get an entrance first and foremost, like
Right.
obviously they're not going to win. Eh, and then especially if it's like against like Claudio or something, you know.
Right.
So what I would do, I would just give it a little more consistency. Um, if you're going to have like local talent and stuff like that, I would have local talent face other local talent.
Oh yeah,
And
that's a good idea.
yeah, and just make it like not necessarily ranking system because we saw how that worked, but kind of like a ranking system where like, oh, first off, I'm sorry, my biggest point is I would use elevation. Elevation is your stepping stone.
Right.
Uh, if we're going to rate the shows, like that's the bottom of the barrel. Like that's if you're a rookie, that's where you're going to be. Not necessarily like developmental, but if you're green, if you're, you know, just maybe even coming back from an injury, you go just to
Right.
get your reps almost. Um, but it would also have its own bottom, mid, and top card, and it would have its own belts. So people get used to working. Like even if you're on elevation, there's still going to be a main event.
Right.
Like to get those people used to working that way. And just the small things that someone might not know, like how we were talking about earlier. Um, Mark Briscoe had his brother's belt, and at the end, he made sure he held up both belts and stuff like that. If somebody's green, they might be too worried about everything else to think about putting the company over.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like by the time you get to the big show, that should be second nature. So to just teach them the fundamentals of being on television,
Yeah.
on elevation. Then you take dark and make dark a little more serious. But then you start over. Like you would have the former champions, uh, say like every year, um, whoever the champions are get bumped up. So the
Right.
champions on elevation move up to dark. The champions on dark get moved up to the quote unquote main roster. And if you do things that way, everybody knows everybody, like fan wise.
Right.
And you never have the situation like, and I'm sure there'd be some people that would just watch, like how there are some people still to this day that only watch NXT. They don't like WWE's product, but they really like NXT.
Right.
The loss in translation comes is whenever you stop appeasing those fans. So if you kept things kind of glued together where the champions every year they would move up, everybody would know everybody fan wise, and everything would kind of make sense. Like how we always say, like there's a group of people in AEW that at any moment they could be put in a main event and it would make sense. But
Right.
just imagine that from top to bottom, if
Right.
if that makes sense. So yeah, I would start that, and I would do that, and I would just let things like just let things go, not necessarily naturally, but keep keep the machine going. Like you start on elevation, you graduate to dark, then finally you make it to the main roster. And just the opposite too. It's not a demotion if you go the other way. That you could play big time storylines like have a heel be the champion of dark and then he gets brought up um to Dynamite, then you could have like someone like Danielson be like, "Who's this guy? Like he was champion of what?" Like just
Right.
don't even like just make a storyline stuff like, "Who are you? I don't even know who you are, dude." Like it would just write itself. And I would kind of make it a I don't want to say like a factory. Like I know that's what the Cody calls his wrestling school.
Right.
Uh, I wouldn't make it like a quote unquote factory, as in like I'd make it like a team sport. That's what I'm trying to say. Like
Right.
everybody would be working towards the common good. And I kind of think that's what Tony Khan has instilled. So a lot of these young talent might already have that, but that's what I would do. And then I would just make it, you're all an interchangeable piece.
Right.
You're a team at that point. We always talk about me and you. We're hockey fans, so it's not always the superstar that wins the game for you.
Right.
Sometimes your bottom lines win the games for you too. So that's the way I'd run it.
Yeah, I like it.
Thank you.
I really like the idea of like local talent facing other local talent because because then you don't know who's going to win necessarily, right?
Right.
Whereas if it's local talent facing Kenny Omega, like
right,
99% of the time, then local talent's not going to win that match. And yeah, it would make them seem more important. Like right now, when they bring in like a Timothy Thatcher, he's also not an AEW wrestler, but he's hyped up because he wrestled somewhere else. Like the local talent's wrestling somewhere else too. They just like it's a small company, but like they're wrestling somewhere. They don't just show up. So it would kind of even it out to like, oh yeah, this is really cool when you bring in a guy from New Japan. It's also really cool when you bring in a guy from local wrestling federation, right? Like it's still a big deal, and it would make it. Yeah, and I like the idea of raising, moving up. Like you start off in elevation and you go, that makes a lot of sense.
Because and that's the way sports work. I mean, like you get drafted, and very few people start at the top.
Right.
You get drafted, you start use the NHL. You get drafted. Some guys even go back to juniors.
Right.
So.
And it does work the other way too. Like sometimes someone's injured and they spend a couple weeks in the minor leagues, or it's the end of your career. You're 40 years old and you want to keep playing, but you can't. You're not on the main team anymore. So you go to the AHL, and that happens. So that's it. That would work.
Yeah, and then I never even thought of it that way. Think of it that way, like somebody on their way out who, like Sting, like you could. I mean, Sting, if you just say Sting is going to, like, if Sting was going to show up at the local gas station, people would show up to, like, just go and hang out. So, like, you put Sting, like, and Sting's obviously a draw. I'm not saying Sting's bottom of the barrel, but if he showed up to challenge, I don't know, some random indie guy to just say that's Action Andretti and you knew who he was, instead of having him beat Chris Jericho, you have like Sting come down to check out the local talent, quote unquote, and he puts his seal of approval on.
Yeah, and it would kind of make it a place where you could see local talent, right? Like you could see people from other wrestling companies, like make it as like positioned as like, oh, the best of the unsigned talent, like the guys who are like real indie, not like ROH, NXT indie, like actual indie wrestlers who are like wrestling in a gym somewhere. If you want to see them wrestle on a big stage, you watch Elevation. Yeah, that would work.
Yeah, and it gets like those guys and girls TV experience, like because I mean, in this day and age, think about it. You could be an indie wrestler and make a great living and never have been on television.
Right. Like I even heard, I remember when it was right before it was the pandemic WrestleMania, but it was right before the pandemic happened. Drew McIntyre was facing Brock Lesnar. He was going to face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. And there was like a couple weeks before he like knocked Lesnar out on the top of the ramp. And I heard people say that, like, I didn't watch it live, but I watched it later. He knocked Lesnar out on the top of the ramp and Lesnar was holding the title and he dropped it when he got hit. And people said that you could see Lesnar be like, hold up the belt. Like he's telling him, he's telling Drew, like, I dropped it, pick it up and hold up the belt. And like Drew McIntyre was obviously, he's a WWE wrestler, but he was never in like a title program in WWE, like a world title program. So I guess he that wasn't his first thought, but like Lesnar was like, no, I dropped it. Use that, pick it up and hold it up. Like,
hold it up over me.
Yeah. which is a thing that like you might not think of if you're not not on TV all the time. You wouldn't but like Lesnar's been there for 20 years. Like he knows what to do. So yeah, that would be, and that's where some of the the more experienced, like a Dustin Rhodes or something could be on Elevation, help people out in that way. Yeah, that would work.
Yeah. I mean, there's too much potential there for, we're in the day and age of, I mean, let's face it, cable television is dying.
Right.
And like, obviously YouTube's not the answer either, just because the way that ads, like there's no producer there saying when to run the commercial. Like someone could be in the middle of a moonsault and it just cuts.
I got the trial of YouTube Premium, where they take out the ads, and I just ended up keeping it because I can't go back now.
I've never done that, because that would be another $5 a month.
Yeah, no, I'm like, I can't go back to not having. I can't go back to ads, because you're right. They just throw them in at like the 10-minute mark, and you don't know what's happening. Like they just it's a 10 minutes, right? So, yeah, I can't go back to ads now.
Oh, see, I'm jealous. So yeah, like sometimes like that's like YouTube isn't the answer either, but
it's just like the easiest. Like everyone knows YouTube, but yeah.
Exactly. And for Tony Khan to take the time to put this up there,
right?
Like, he could easily, wouldn't be much of a paywall, but if they had a semi, like streaming service,
right?
He could easily put Dark and Elevation on there and charge you $5 a month,
right?
For those, because you're getting, it'd be 2 shows a week. You're getting 8 shows a week for $5. Like, come on. So it's nice that
if they had like an honor club for AEW.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of, and I couldn't. Yeah,
which I really wish they would. I know they don't, but I really wish they would. They need one.
They do, and after you watch this Jay Briscoe tribute show that they put together, my goodness, their documentary team is going to be unreal.
Like, it would be great that they have all this ROH footage. I mean, they could do like a best of Bryan Danielson or a best of Adam Cole or like
that's all already up on there. Everything that we said should be on the WWE network.
Right.
If you just go to Ring of Honor's YouTube, it's all there. You can go to the best of Kevin Steen, the best of.
Oh, nice.
The only thing they don't have that I really wish they would have, and this is me splitting hairs, if they had like the individual feuds, so you could just watch the feud.
Right.
Like if they would have like Briscoes versus the Young Bucks, and then you can just watch it from beginning to end or whatever.
Yeah, that would be cool.
But yeah, if you just go to the I think it's Ring of Honor Wrestling on YouTube. It's
nice.
Yep, it's all there. So anyways, we're 2 hours in. Do you have anything to add, sir?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Well, I don't think I have anything to add either. So
this was the last couple Dynamites have been interesting because they haven't been, like I said, they haven't been like super, not to knock anyone who's on it, because they've been good shows, but they haven't been like, the last 2 shows at least haven't had like, super big stars on it. It's not like they're having, Danielson on a match or like, not Danielson, like Moxley's not having matches, like Hangman Page isn't having matches, like MJF's not there, like he's doing little promos. They're not putting their like, top guys into like hyped main events. Like Danielson's wrestling, but he's wrestling Brian Cage. It's not like a storyline that's been going for a while and they're facing off against one another. But the shows have been good, even without like
so good
that sort of hype to it, or even without the necessarily the ex WWE guys in the starring role. The shows have been really good.
No.
And then CM Punk's going to come back and ruin all of it.
I cannot wait.
Because that's what he does. He just ruins everything.
Everything the dude touches. I love that the internet turned on him so fast. Immediately fast.
And then like, and then they won. MJF and Punk won the best feud in the PWI. I was like, all right, that feud was good, but the rest of it,
yeah. But everything else, guy sucks. Come on.
And now the new thinking that he's injury prone, even though like one injury was like fluke. Like the foot injury was like he jumped into the crowd and hit his foot. Like that's fluke luck. Like yes, he got injured, he tore his pec muscle or whatever, but like so did Cody. Like that doesn't mean he's injury prone. Like and he got injured. Like that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
He's also 44 years old.
Right.
And jumped off the top rope to the floor.
Right. Like I would like not to take this any longer, but if he ever does come back, I would assume it would be in like a more of a part-time role, and that would be perfectly fine. And by part-time, I mean like not wrestling every week. Like he'd still like be on the shows, but like not wrestling every week.
You know, like look at Kenny and the Bucks. They don't wrestle every week.
Right.
You know, Punk doesn't need to be doing that.
Right.
Danielson
only Danielson wants to do that.
Yeah. He might start wrestling on Elevation and Dark.
Yeah, don't tell. He might not know. Don't tell him.
That's true.
Don't tell him Elevation is the show. Wait, there's shows that I'm not on? What? I could be wrestling more.
We have 2 more hours of television that I don't know about.
Get me down to Florida. Book me in some matches.
Oh man, that Florida space that they have when they do the like the studio wrestling darks, those are so fun because you could just tell that like I don't know for sure, but you could tell that there's not many rules for them down there.
Right.
Like when they're in the studio, just the shows are just that much more fun.
Yeah, that's the Impact Zone, isn't it? Where they used to film Impact?
Yes, that used to be the Impact Zone.
Nice.
Which blows my mind that that's on national television and that little place.
I know.
held a weekly wrestling show.
Now I'm looking at the ROH YouTube channel. This is amazing.
Dude, doesn't it? It's like literally everything that we probably look like the biggest fools. We're like, if there was only a place, why doesn't a wrestling company do this? Anyways, people, thank you as always. Thank you for listening. It's awesome. It's humbling every week. Make sure you follow us on all social media. We're at Elite City Pod just about everywhere. I'm still working on the Hive account, aka I'm trying to figure out how to put the graphics up.
I forgot that existed.
It's the most convoluted process. It you know, like when you set up like the headers in your avatars, like every social does it the same. You just drag and drop it in.
Right.
I've had to be different. Every time I try to do it, it's just not correct. But yeah, we're everywhere at Elite City Pod. We are that though on Hive though. We do own that. But we're just not active.
All right.
So we are the same there. But anyways, yeah, thank you to everybody. I was telling Rick earlier, my MRI is Monday. Then I don't go to the doctor until the end of next week. So that'll probably just be a scheduled surgery. So after next week, we're probably going to be up in the air a little bit because I don't know what I'm going to do or where I'm even going to be. I'm probably going to have to lay low for a minute. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be stuck in the hospital for a couple days, a week. I don't know. So I'll keep everybody posted. Anyways, again, thank you for everything. Rick, do you have anything to add here at the end?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Well, there's nothing to add then. Everybody, just be good. If you learned anything from Jay Briscoe, just be good and learn from your mistakes. If you can do that, you're winning at life. So anyways, thank you again. It's been fun. And until next week, later.